In one of the worst cases of bureaucratic one-upmanship and abuse of coercive power and big brotherly attitude, you will see how the Indian Railways is scuttling a project despite holding a 49% stake in it. The Bengaluru Suburban Rail Project was approved after 12 years of struggle. It's now being killed by one of its own parents, the Indian Railways. This is in the crown jewel of India's progress and one of the top 10 innovation capitals of the world, Bengaluru, which is losing 30,000 crores every year in lost productivity. This project was supposedly one of the saving graces for Bengaluru to resolve its transport issues and up its productivity and contribute to the economic progress of the country. And this is what is happening. Today we'll talk about this. Raj Dugar has been working from the citizen side to follow up these issues, and he keeps writing love letters to the authorities every now and then. This is something that is plaguing us, and today we'll talk more about this. So let's go. Welcome to the show, Raj. What is the Bengaluru Suburban Rail really? Why should people care about it? The people who might be listening and the people we want the attention of, why should they care about it?
If we take the center, if we take KSR Bengaluru City Railway Station as a center, and if we take a radius of about, say, 60, 70 kilometers, I was myself surprised. We have about 500 route kilometers of railway tracks available as we speak, along with 70 railway stations. Now imagine this kind of infrastructure can be easily leveraged for local commute. It's not something which is available at other cities also. But how much ever we pushed railways, we found that probably they are also right in their own way. Their focus is on freight and long distance trains. Local commute is not their forte. So why is that so? Because the local commute needs three main ingredients. One is very good frequency, very high reliability, and very high punctuality. Without these three ingredients, we cannot have an efficient, effective, and extensive local commute option from the railways, even though the network is available. So what happened is about 3 to 4 decades ago, people started talking about a separate system of the suburban rail for Bengaluru. And this went to a lot of churning. I'm sure you are very much aware of this because your platform, Prajarag, was deeply involved in this, and there are so many other people too. And after a lot of changes and discussions and all those versions that came out, finally, under the new suburban rail policy 2018, this suburban rail project of Bengaluru was the first project which was sanctioned. That was sanctioned on 21st October 2020. So this project, once the moment it was sanctioned, there was a wave of joy through all the people who were fighting for this or wanting this. And we thought, okay, here's the light at the end of the tunnel. But then that was not to be, as we saw later. But before I go into that, I'd like to tell you just briefly what this project is all about, what the sanction allows us to have. It talks about 4 corridors, and these corridors basically crisscross the city, and the total length of all the 4 corridors is about 148 kilometers, and the total cost, sanctioned cost, is 15,767 crores, which works out to about 106 crores per kilometer. And the point in the sanction letter, which is very important for us, is that the suburban rail project was supposed, all the 4 corridors, as you have put up now, all the details, they are supposed to have been ready by October 2026. 72 months or 6 years was given for these 4 corridors. And specifically, it was mentioned in the sanction letter that the airport corridor, corridor number 1, that is C1, that was to be taken on a priority and to be completed by October 23. That is already over. And I will not go into further details. We'll continue the conversation. So this is the background for the suburban rail project, which Bengaluru finally got in October 20.
500 kilometers of railway lines are available which could be utilized inside the growing city which is suffering for space. We are having to do the metro because we are not able to utilize this, which could transport so many people inside the city. You said something very rightly, that this is not the forte of Indian Railways to do local transport, which is they are supposed to carry long distance train. They can focus on the country as a whole and start looking at connecting cities, and and looking at freight corridors to transport goods and other things. But now what we are seeing in all the communications, which I'd like to look at, is that the railways, anyway, for the people, is divided into many blocks: the southwestern railways, the southern railways, and the eastern railways, the western railways, and things like that, into blocks. The southwestern railways, where this broadly forms, is the representative of Indian railways in this region of where the suburban railways form, or is existing. The four corridors you mentioned are connecting towns and localities nearby, right, which is around 60, 70, 100 kilometers distance. It brings a lot of labor force to work in the city and make the city thrive, and it's economically strong, so that it is economically stronger, and it doesn't lend itself to commuting troubles. If you have to travel 60 kilometers into the city from a suburban town, you find labor, but the road transport can lead to congestion and other things, right? We've talked about this earlier. Trains offer this, and the metro is now was trying to replace this network inside the city, but they are also having to reach out to the suburban areas in some way. The metro extension to the airport seems to be taking off faster than, and you have some thoughts on that. We'll get to that. But let's set the stage here. Here is an organization that was formed, right? It was called the KRIDE, which is the Rail Infrastructure Development Company of Corporation of Karnataka, or KRIDE, which was a special purpose vehicle which was formed, which is like the Metro Rail Corporation, the Bus Corporation. There's a train corporation, correct? So the Transport Corporation, for this to execute this project and run it later, is called KRIDE. It is in which 51% is the state government and 49% is the Indian Railways. Yes. They hold a stake in this thing. So, which means they should be interested in making sure that this takes off and allows the railways to focus on long distance trains, right? The first stretches of this suburban railways is not reaching the suburban trains that we had originally conceptualized. Yes. And the reports that asked the KRI to do this was saying, okay, lead to these towns and cities. Give me an example of what are the cities and towns it is supposed to touch. And right now it is not there. And when they want to go there, the SW is saying, no, I want to do it now. What's going on? Why do they want to do that?
So, Satya, this is a very, very valid thing that you have raised, and very crucial point. Briefly, let me also first tell you what we understand by the word suburban. Now, when we talk about metro, definitely it is useful for within the city. It is not useful at all, or rather not practical, to extend it to long corridors because of various reasons. Now, coming to the word suburban, it is the area which is just outside the city up to the neighboring towns. In the context of Bangalore, we are talking about towns like, Devanahalli or beyond, Chikkaballapura, Doddaballapura. You're talking about Tumakuru, you're talking about Ramanagara at least, and then Hosur, and then this side we have Whitefield. Bangarpet. So this kind of a area which covers all the suburban towns of Bangalore is the true area in which this suburban rail should reach out to get maximum benefit. What are the benefits? One is reduce congestion within the city. Second is to help develop those towns, because when people from there are able to move quickly to Bangalore efficiently and then go back, we're going to have good to and fro movements. So suburban rail logically should reach out to all these towns which are around. Whereas right now what they have done is they're calling it phase one, in a sense. They are reaching out literally halfway to those towns. For example, we are stopping at Chikkaballapura, not going to Tumakuru. We are stopping at Kingeri, not going to Ramanagara. We are stopping at Teelalige, not going to Hosur. We are stopping at Whitefield, not going to Bangarpet. We are stopping at Devanahalli, not going to Chikkaballapura. And we are these kind of things, they the proper meaning of the suburban rail system will or rather the utilization will come up only when this gets extended. So we understand the fact that, okay, this has to be built first, and there are other challenges while building the suburban rail within the city rather than outside. Outside is going to be very easy, comparatively cheaper and faster. So this has to be done. And you mentioned about Southwestern Railways being, not very proactively cooperating or supporting this. This has actually come as a shocker to us also, because we even our public representatives had mentioned publicly that they want this extension to be done, and it must be done. And when mandatorily, KRIDE, the company which is building the BSRP, needs to take permission from railways. Now, I want to get back to this point quickly. First, I want to mention that, as you were hinting, railways is having 49% stake. I consider it as a parent, one of the parents, whichever mother or father, doesn't matter, of this BSRP. And coming to the percentages, even though railways is holding 49% stake, let me tell you that as far as the work is concerned, the civil work and running of the system, I would say that almost 100% stake of railways is there in this BSRP. There are various reasons for it. Because one of the important reasons that BSRP corridors or tracks will run along the Indian Railways tracks within the railway land. So that's a huge thing. The tracks are dedicated track for BSRP, but they're running along these existing railway tracks. The stations also, even if they build new ones or use the existing ones with some modifications for themselves, these will all be along the railway tracks. Secondly, there has to be huge amount of coordination between the KRIDE and railways, because when KRIDE is building this, they are building it along railway tracks which are being used daily for regular trains. Those cannot be stopped. So there has to be huge coordination. And then another point which I too found a little surprising initially when I got to know is that Southwestern Railways is actually going to get huge benefits from BSRP. Some of these are like, you can see railway lands, especially in the urban settings, they're all encroached, most of them. They don't have any boundary walls or, protection, so people just do things there. So when railways is handing over lands to KRIDE to build BSRP, they are not removing all the encroachments and giving totally clear lands. They're just giving a letter saying, okay, this is the land available, you can take it. These guys, poor chaps, they have to go and clear all these encroachments for them, for the railways. And then, of course, they are getting the land very cheap, but then these are the benefits. And apart from that, when BSRP starts functioning, one big thing will be all the pressure on railways to run, local trains nearby within, let's say, 100 kilometers radius. That pressure will be off. Their system they can use more efficiently for long distance and freight, which is their forte and their bread and butter. So railways will be highly benefited by BSRP. In addition, there is one very nice thing that is happening for the city as well as the railways because of BSRP. That you would have seen, Satya, a lot of places we have these things called level crossings, moving around, and then the barricade comes down because there's a train going to cross. So each time train is crossing, every single vehicle which gets stopped there loses about 20 to 30 minutes. And afterwards, when the barricade is off, or then the vehicles, there's a total chaos there after that. So these kind of level crossings, we are very lucky that as a bonus, I think 23 or 26 of these are going to be eliminated by KRIDE while building the BSRP along these corridors, which will also help Southwestern Railways because it will reduce that much of their infra and manpower which they can take off, and the safety factor, efficiency factor of railways will improve because of this small exercise. So railways is going to get huge benefits from this. And despite that, last 3-4 years, because there is no rail option, we have been trying to push them to run trains to airport, run trains to Hilalige, run trains here. Frankly, they are just doing something which can be shown on paper. Okay, we are running trains, but then they are neither efficient nor effective nor extensive. They are not punctual at all. We have been monitoring most of these trains. The punctuality is very poor. The reliability is poor because we don't know tomorrow if the train will run or not.
Yeah.
And it's a bad scene.
So that's the point I want to get back to. It is not that the railways cannot run these trains, but since their focus is on running interstate trains and long distance trains and cargo and other things which is needed, they will compromise on the local train when it comes to running their train. When a choice needs to be made whether to let this train or that train, they're going to let the long distance train go and stop the suburban train. Now, here's the difference in that, right? If you have a structure in which you can have a proper agreement with someone, third party like KRIDE, and say, here is your time slots. We will not prevent you. You can do what you do, and we will work around what is available. KRIDE is putting all the bandwidth required. They're spending the money. They are taking loans, right, as a special entity, and they have to pay back. All the cleaning up work that you said is being done in the cities is going to benefit the railways as well.
Yes.
But when push comes to shove, and the railways is being asked, say that I'm running a halfway service. I want to take it to the full way as originally intended.
Yes.
We want to start making a feasibility report for the next stage of extending to the towns. You know what they come back with, right? They come back and saying, no, you know what? We are going to run those trains. We are going to extend those trains. We are going to run a circular railway now using Vande metro trains, right? That's one. And second thing is, we are now going to run 10-minute services to cities like Mysore. We are going to do this. Where was all this we were going to do for the last 15 years? Why are they now? So today, I will share this letter on the screen while you talk about this. They are basically written formally to the KRIDE saying, we are denying permissions to go where you originally intended to.
Yes.
To actually call yourself a suburban rail, you're supposed to touch the suburbs, but we will not let you. And we will do the rest of the things. Now we are getting into the act. Why are they doing this?
There are two aspects to this. One is the infrastructure itself. We're talking about railway track, we're talking about stations, we're talking about signaling, we're talking about so many other things. The second is the service. Like you had brought up, infrastructure can be built by anyone. For example, KRIDE is building the BSRP infrastructure. Railways is building their own infrastructure. When it comes to services in the local area, we're talking about when we say local area, we're talking about, let's say, 100 kilometers radius, where all these towns which I mentioned earlier are included. Then there should be zero compromise on the fact that since KRIDE is existing, which came into existence because of railways, since BSRP is being built by KRIDE, which happened because the railways wanted them to do it, they should be completely supported, and there should be 100% cooperation, proactive cooperation, I would say, from railways to make sure that they achieve their goals as far as services are concerned. So there should be no grounds for railways to say that we will run these trains. That is completely unacceptable because of the fact that we cannot depend on two different agencies. Now imagine I'm going from here to Tumakuru. I have to take a BSRP train till Hilalige, and from Hilalige I have to take another train to Chikkaballapura, not Hilalige, and then from there I have to take another train which is of Indian Railways. Now the timings may not match, the platforms may not match, the stations may not match, and so many other things, ticketing, so many other issues. Then when the same train goes further to Tumakuru, then it makes all the difference for me to take that train.
Explain this letter to us. What is it saying really?
What they have said is, actually it's like, they have, I'll use some strong word, they were in Kumbhakarna Nidre all these years. Now they have woken up and they're seeing, oh my God, these people are building all these things. They have started working and there's a lot of pressure from citizens and some public representatives. So what do we do about it? And they are saying that we will do this, we'll do it. Fine, great, do it. In the letter somewhere, I think somewhere in that letter it's mentioned that we will have our infrastructure which will work at 130 to 160 kilometers per hour. And yours, that is KRIDE's infra is about, I think it's in the first page. I don't know. First page, please.
I'll share that. I had opened only this one.
KRIDE's maximum speed is 90 kilometers per hour. My point is simple. When you're running a local train, which mandatorily has to stop at every intermediate station, otherwise it cannot be called local train, you cannot be running those at 130, 160 kilometers per hour. Even 90 is too much. The average speed of metro today, even though the maximum speed of metro is 90 kilometers per hour, the average speed is 34 kilometers per hour. You can't increase it blindly. So the thing is, even though railways is saying we are in the first point, enhancement of speeds, it doesn't make any difference to my local commute. Because if you're going to work towards those speed, then you can't stop at the intermediate stations, which are available on an average every 2 to 3 kilometers. So that is something completely hogwash. And automatic block signaling is part of the BSRP project. It will be there. And coming to doubling and quadrupling, yes, please go ahead and do doubling, quadrupling, whatever. Use it for your Indian Railways to give better services, to give more efficient services, to give more services, and for your freight. So when BSRP is going to have two dedicated tracks all along its corridors, they don't need anything else, because on one side it's just like when you drive on the road, no, one left side is ours, while the right side is to the other side. So that is fine. The headway, that is the gap, minimum gap that is there between two consecutive trains in the case of BSRP will be 90 seconds, which means if a train has left at the station, if required, the next train can be allowed to go after 1.5 minutes. So that is fair enough. And the carrying capacity, very important. In the case of metro, they have made stations which are maximum, which can support a six coach train, not beyond that. So today, even if we want to increase the capacity, we have to get more trains. Whereas in the case of BSRP, luckily, KRIDE is making stations which can support 9 coach trains, which actually makes the capacity 50% more. So looking at all this, this letter from Southwestern Railways is actually absolutely baseless.
Yeah.
And then in the last, I would like you to take it to the last line, where they have made one statement which is very, funny, I would say, from their side. They have said that, BSRP is not functioning not happening very fast. The work is very slow. So please tell them to increase the speed of the work. Who is causing the delay? Who is causing the delay? The last one, further GOK is requested to focus on faster execution and completion of works already undertaken by KRIDE, the progress of which is extremely slow and behind schedule. Yes, you are absolutely right, Southwestern Railway. But have you proactively cooperated in the last 37 plus months with KRIDE? Today, if we talk today, work is going on only on one corridor, Corridor 2, that is between Bayapanhalli of Bengaluru to Chikkaballapura. That work is going on. Other 3 corridors, why are they held up? Why has the tenders not been called for Corridor 4 yet, even though publicly KRIDE has said that we have finished the tendering process, in the sense they're just waiting for railways to give them a formal permission letter for the land. So who is holding up this? Take the case of Corridor 1. Southwestern Railways has a role to play in the delay. So this is something I think somebody who's written this letter has not really used his, whatever, leave it. So it has to be completely, it's against the interest of the city. It needs to be, our public representatives should take a call and close this matter by saying, no, BSRP has to be extended to the neighboring town. Last point, you're talking about the ring railway. Frankly, Satya, I am fine if railways builds the thing. But as I said earlier, the running, I have written to the railway minister as well, the chairman of the railway board and Southwestern Railways GM, saying that please make this ring of 4 tracks, not 2 tracks. They are planning to do it with 2 tracks. There, our BSRP cannot run there, because they will, railways, as expected, they will run their freight trains or bypassing trains on those tracks. So BSRP cannot be allowed to work in a situation where we don't know when they will get the time slot. That is not right. So since it's a new DPR being made, it should be made for 4 tracks. So let them use 2 tracks themselves. Let them hire out 2 tracks to BSRP to run their circuit.
One of the things is, why do we have the circular railway being done by the railways? Now they talk about this. I brought this up for a reason, right? Public demand for connectivity from satellite towns to city center will require high-speed train services to reach destination in minimum possible time. True. But then you cannot say you can only have 90 kilometers, multiple stoppages as planned by... The whole point of suburban rail is to cater to the crowd, which are along the way as well. You cannot just have point-to-point services. This is not a airport service from the center to the end of the road and everybody else. You are putting heavy capital expenditure. Like you said, the coaches are going to be longer. The trains are going to be longer with more carriages than the metro can allow. They are even not built on standard gauge. They are built on broad gauge, which is the railway standard, which means the holding capacity will be bigger. So there are going to be a lot of people traveling in it, and you need to stop in many places. You are not building some express train service. Express train, in fact, one of the points you made, Raj, was express trains are what the interstate trains will then become.
Yes.
They don't have to stop in city, cantonment, KR Puram, Whitefield, all the way on there, right? So you can have a suburban train person do all this,
Okay.
either go and wait at the edge stations or wait in the center and board the train, and your interstate trains can get faster. You make the interstate trains not stop everywhere. Let people board from the edge stations from the interstate and then head out. At some point, all the interstate train services should only have a stop in these suburban areas where the suburban train connects, and the next stop can only be in the city center or cantonment or one other place. That's it. In fact, this is the case they were trying to make for the suburban rail. They were saying stop it at the edges. Don't let it come into the city. It's the other way they need to think, is that we are not running high-speed train services. This is for the people of the city to travel. It should pick up passengers everywhere. When somebody like the Indian Railways has participated with pushing and prodding and everything, they have come together, established what you call a baby, and there is a KRIDE, a professional set of people trying to do something. Of course, KRIDE has its own challenges. The entity needs to have a full-fledged an MD who's typically from the IAS. It is possible that they are also fighting over that. It should be somebody from the railways. It should be, don't put your own guy. I think at some point, KRIDE also should start getting more professionalized and not have either somebody from Indian Railways or here too much into the operational stuff. There is a paucity of people anyway on both sides, and we should just start putting technical people. Be that as it may, don't you think that the Indian Railways shouldn't suddenly start getting the josh of I will do everything myself? What is the reason? What is the need? There is an entity in which you have a 49% stake. You're trying to professionalize that. Shouldn't the Indian Railways and the Southwestern Railways, which is representing the Indian Railways here, be talking about progressive policies, about cooperative policies, about getting away and doing their core business and not suddenly trying to meddle? It is so bureaucratic that they just want to fight. Who is suffering? In the end, the city is suffering. You have so much to do in the Indian Railways side. Why aren't you running bullet trains from Bengaluru to Chennai and then going and fighting with the airlines and say, you don't do short trips, I'm going to take this over? Instead, you're looking inwards and trying to fight with the metro, trying to fight with suburban rail. Where do you see Indian Railways? The attitude itself is all gone for a toss now. It is holding back the country's progress, is what I think.
Well, Satya, you're absolutely right. I would say to railways, if you could, you should have. What stopped you? We don't see that having happened till now. So, and in fact, I would say that as far as local commute is concerned, Southwestern Railways vis-a-vis Bangalore has comprehensively failed to provide proper local commute. So that being the case, there is no problem about that. You continue to focus on so many things. You look at some of the, nowadays you find in social media, some of the long distance trains where in the reserved compartments, you have people entering and, standing in the corridor, and unreserved people coming and standing in the first class or even AC coaches. So that means the railways is not doing their job properly. They need to focus on solving those problems. Long distance trains are getting packed to capacity or beyond capacity, and they're not able to do that. So why are they putting their head into trying to give us something which they are not capable of? But they can play a huge positive role here, which until now we have not seen, and we are hopeful that better sense will prevail, and some of our public representatives or the railway board or railway the minister should make sure that these things don't happen, because it actually gives a very bad impression about the railways themselves. They need to come out of all this kind of thing and understand that local commute is not their cup of tea. Maybe in Mumbai, yes, but Mumbai, if you could have done in Bangalore, we didn't need KRIDE, we didn't need BSRP, as I said earlier. So since you have not done it, if somebody is ready to do, poor thing, it's like a baby growing up and you're not letting it grow up. That is not right. We are not telling KRIDE to build BSRP to, let's say, Chennai or Mumbai or something. It's just within the let's say about 100, that between the two of you, you can sit and discuss and decide, okay, 100 kilometers, it's your area. Beyond that is my area. Finished. So that is not happening, unfortunately. And I'm hopeful that somebody, maybe since the letter has come from SWR to KRIDE, I would suppose that KRIDE should respond to that letter and tell the railway board, like we have also written, that this is not right. The public representatives, unfortunately, I must bring this out. We have MLAs, we have MPs. Until after sanction, post sanction, I'm saying not before sanction, post sanction, the MPs should have played a huge role in ensuring monitoring and facilitating of this project. Why has this project not yet taken off? One of the key reasons is the fact that post sanction, our MPs completely lost interest in it, except for stray cases. Once or twice, something happened, some monitoring or some kind of inspection or some review happened. But then the thing is, that is not the way. We are another thing which really surprises me is that 20 months after sanction, when the Honorable Prime Minister came and formally laid the foundation stone for this project on 20th June last year, that is 2022, he went ahead and made a public commitment that this project will be completed within 40 months. That's 1 year, 1 full year before the sanction letter's completion date. And that actually sent a second wave of joy to all of us. But then we thought that our public reps and the authorities, the officials will get into their act at least then. The Prime Minister cannot be expected to review this on a regular basis, or even otherwise. The MP's job, the authorities, the officials who should have jumped in and said, okay, hey, let's start now at least. But you will be surprised, the actual work, civil work, started 6 months after that. So we lost huge amount of time there. And now also we have been telling them that work is very slow. So the role of the MPs is very, very important here. Even the MLAs, I would say, because when we're talking about congestion in the city, the 28 MLAs need to take interest. So what we did about a week ago is that we brought out a kind of a tabular column where we have mapped each station of BSRP to the respective MLA and to the respective MLA constituency and MP constituency. People should understand, okay, these are the people who need to take care of things. They need to jump in, but they're not doing it. So Southwestern Railways will continue to do this until somebody tells them, hey, look, this needs to stop and you need to take care of your baby. So who's going to do that? It has to be us, the public, the media, and more important, our public representatives.
I think those are very three useful things I think we should conclude on, which is there was the Minister Ashwini Vaishnav who was here reviewing all these projects. I have seen the Bangalore Central MP PC Mohan and Tejasvi Surya also review these projects. I have seen MP Patil also be there and review the projects. But at the end of the day, this working relationship between KRIDE and SWR needs to completely go to the next level. They should own this project. We should be able to you can't even be squabbling over the MD. My MD, there has to be IRS in it. No, I need control of, we are spending all the money and the equity has been provided by both. Right? Somebody is chasing all the monies to put this together. You're providing the land and everybody is benefiting. The city is benefiting. The Indian Railways is getting more tracks, which was not originally there. And we have seen this SWR run the train to the airport many times. Complete abject failure. You run it in the middle of the afternoon when you have the time, not when the passengers want to go. Right? When are the flights coming? It requires a lot of effort. If you want to do interstate, do interstate. If you think that this is the only cash cow, work, you have 49% in it. You will get the money. Work on TOD, work on last mile connectivity, work on all these things. Solving the MD full time. If I know the state has limited bandwidth with IAS officers double timing and triple timing all their departments, don't get a professional MD instead. Stay the chairman and do all the paperwork there. Get someone, which I think is what SWR is saying, but they want it from the railways. Why not get somebody from the private side dealing with it neutrally? We have to think out of the box to make this work. It can be an example. And the first thing it starts with is to not keep a half-assed suburban train to halfway widths and then say, this is suburban train. No, this is not. It's not even. Metros are going further than the suburban train.
Yes, I want to bring this out that just what you were saying is hopefully going to be available soon, because after a lot of efforts, there is something called as a tripartite MOU between the state government, I think the Railway Ministry and SWR, KRIDE and SWR, these three entities. This tripartite MOU was not being signed by SWR for a long time. TOK had signed it. I think Ministry of Railways had also, the board had approved it. KRIDE was ready to sign. And then finally, just I think about a month ago, SWR finally signed it. So this tripartite MOU actually lays down all the, procedures to be followed for all the inter-departmental things, how they need to be handled or sorted out and all that.
But that was operational coordination. That was operational coordination of how do you build, because KRIDE has this challenge which the metro doesn't have. Metro can block the road and build the thing and reduce the carriageway. You can't do that in a train. The train is going. How will you reduce the carriageway of the train? You can't do that. So that inter-coordination of permission seeking. And remember this letter came right after that MOU has been signed, or just around the time, right? So it is meaningless to continue to fight on one side and then try to sign an MOU. The MOU has been pushed through because they want to build. You can't keep preventing the build for every single line. You can't keep going and saying, block over here, get an approval. I want to put a pillar over here, get an approval. This is going to not make anything move, right? So the ball is right in the Indian Railways court. And I think they need to start talking to and giving the right signals to the minister. You can't come and make the minister happy with your Vande Metro and circular rail and then say, let me go and fight with KRIDE. It's not happening. It's not done. I think the ministers and the MP should take note of this and once and for all fix the fact that SWR stick to what you're doing and don't scuttle this, and you need to be on board. And I think that's where we should go with this. What do you say?
I would like to, in conclusion, say something that, like you rightly said, the railways should understand very categorically that as soon as the BSRP becomes functional, they should allow it to expand to the neighboring towns and the entire area. Bangalore is a fast growing city. It's growing like leaps and bounds. And all these suburban towns where they are getting consumed or subsumed into Bangalore, even the neighboring towns, sometimes you might feel that there's hardly any field in between, agriculture or something. They're all getting into the city. So this is a huge growing city, and Indian Railways should focus on their forte, and BSRP should be allowed to function fully here. KRIDE should be given a free hand to do all the local commute related work, and it should be done fast, because in the first phase itself, which they are in the process of building now, their design is such that 10 lakh people will go off the roads from Bengaluru. It's not a small number. Today, Metro, with all these infrastructure that they have, they're doing a maximum of 6 to 7 lakhs. So we're talking about 10 lakhs off the roads, which is a huge thing for Bangalore. And when it gets extended, this figure is going to grow by leaps and bounds. So this is priority for us, and all the public representatives and officials should work towards these kind of goals. And time is of essence, because we've lost a lot of time after sanction. Now they should work on a war footing with full cooperation from all stakeholders.
Thanks, Raj. I think this conversation will also help the people understand that there are options beyond the metro, additionally to the metro, not beyond the metro, additionally to the metro and the bus. There is an option that we have 500 kilometers of easy travel you guys are giving up. And I hope this brings attention to the media and to the people of the city of Bengaluru. And more importantly, throws a light on how the bureaucracy of the Indian Railways continues to not understand the changed realities of how to work in cities and start defining its focus areas and focusing more. There's lots of things to solve. Please solve that and leave this alone and participate better is my call. Thank you all, and see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.